Much. Now, the euro crisis is over. Don't take my word for it, although the crisis gave us a very good living for a while. Take it from the President of France. If it has really been settled, it's because of the generosity of the Germans, where belief in the European Union is taken in with mother's milk. Now, however, late in the day, a party has emerged in Germany prepared to say enough. It's not as strident as something like UKIP, but it is ready to say what has been unsayable, like the euro is nuts.
When this is the thanks they get for continued bailouts of countries like Greece and Cyprus, it's little wonder the patience of many Germans is just running out. A recent poll by Der Focus magazine showed that 26% would consider voting for an anti-euro party. So is this man, an economics professor and former World Bank advisor, the man to whom they'll turn. After 33 years as a member of Angela Merkel's centre-right party, Bernd Lucke decided he'd had enough of a coalition he felt now was misguided. And in February this year, he founded Germany's first anti-euro party, simply named the Alternative for Germany.
Professor Lucke, what do you think has gone wrong with the European project?
I think we made one step of integration which was too much. It was the common currency. We now know that this was a big mistake and a great failure.
But it's not as if people weren't warned beforehand. It was pointed out by dozens and dozens of people that the economy of a country like Germany is completely different to some of those other countries in the Mediterranean.
That's true, but not many people believe the message of economists. That's perhaps part of our fate.
That's quite sensible at times, too. But given that there was a warning, and given that the decision nonetheless was made to go ahead with it, it indicates, does it not, an almost religious faith?
I wouldn't say that it is religious, but you know that Germans are very favorable of European integration, and they think that there was some belief that the euro would exert some competitive pressure which led to structural adjustment in, say, the Mediterranean countries.
And your country did very well out of the euro, too.
Not really, because in the first years of the euro, Germany had the lowest growth rate in the eurozone.
You managed to achieve a great deal in export markets during the creation of the Eurozone, didn't you?
No, not true. The great boom in exports was later, between 2001 and 2005. We actually had trouble living in the Eurozone.
So what is your suggested solution, then?
Our solution is that we dissolve the euro by first letting the Mediterranean countries exit in a gradual way, which may well take on 4 or 5 years, and that later on we split the rest of the Eurozone, either in smaller currency areas or go completely back to national currencies.
But you know what your former, you used to belong to Angela Merkel's party. Angela Merkel has said if the euro fails, Europe fails.
Well, I'm actually afraid that currently the euro splits Europe into two parts, into a stagnant part, southern Europe, which is deeply in recession, with high rates of unemployment and youth unemployment, with great deficits on current account, with a lack of competitiveness. And then the Central European part, which is still doing fairly well, but which has these high obligations to pay for the debt of the southern countries. And we will have to pay for that with inflation or higher taxes or expenditure cuts.
You wouldn't go so far as to advocate leaving the European Union altogether, would you?
No, not at all. We want to reform the European Union, and one reform step would be to abolish the common currency.
It's very interesting because the debate in this country is very different. Of course, we're not in the euro.
I'm aware of that.
We're sometimes quite grateful for it, too. But we're not in the euro, but there is, in this country now, a growing debate about whether we should be even in the European Union at all, that there will be at some point a referendum on whether to stay in it or not, possibly on some sort of revised terms, or possibly not. But that debate is not going on in Germany at all, is it?
No, that debate is not going on, but one of the points we press for is that we strengthen democratic rights of the population. So we ask for each state and each population to decide whether they want to stay in the euro, and consequently it is the good right of every nation to also decide on whether they want to stay in the European Union. So if the British want to have a vote on that, that's fine, but I'm pretty sure the Germans do not want to question their membership in the European Union.
And what would your advice to us be?
Oh, I don't give you advice. That's your business to decide on that.
So you seek a reform of the European Union with what? The cascading down or back down to individual states of powers that are currently centrally held? Less power for the Central European
Our main concern is currently the equilibria, the disequilibria we see in the Eurozone, which are due to the fact that we have the common currency and that there are these misguided tries to save the common currency. So the main issue is really how do we get out of the mess we stepped in 1999.
Do you think Brussels has too much power?
I do think that Brussels has created too much bureaucracy, and that a number of competences should be moved back to the national level.
What sort of things?
Well, for instance, in terms of research money, I don't really see why these great funds must be administered on a European level rather than being handed out by governments or even universities at the national level. That would conform to the principle of subsidiarity.
Professor, thank you very much.